Hi, this is Shilpa here. Now let's look at that clinical scenario, and using one single clinical scenario, we'll analyze it using both approaches, the Kentian and the Boenninghausen, and we'll try and compare the similarities and the differences. So that should help you work out an analysis in your practice for a given case. So this is your case. A thin man who is quite irritable and impatient comes with complaints of recurrent headaches. So remember, it looks like an acute case. However, it's an acute exacerbation of a chronic case for us. The headaches mostly come over the left eye. They start as a dull pain, becoming sharp, and when it's very intense, it looks like a nail boring into the brain. The headaches are mostly associated with bitter vomiting, which help the patient, and the person can become more irritable and short tempered during an episode. Most of the episodes are triggered by drinking alcohol and worse on motion, worse on exposure to light, but it's definitely worse while waking up in the morning. Now, let's try and work out both these analyses, the Boenninghausen and the Kentian. Now, remember, the difference between a Boenninghausen and the Kentian analysis is in a Boenninghausen analysis, you are looking at the concept of generalization. So if there is a particular location which is very prominent, you can actually generalize the whole location. Or say a particular sensation is really intense, you can use it like a general sensation. And similarly with the modalities. So in our case, the left side analysis is your Boenninghausen analysis, where I've used the constitution, which is what a person is, a generally irritable and impatient person who comes with a headache and is quite thin and sparse. I've generalized the location, which is the left eye. The sensation is quite peculiar, which is the nail boring into the brain. With the modalities, the causative factor for me is quite prominent. It comes up after drinking alcohol. And I've used the most prominent aggravation, which is waking up in the morning. That makes it worse, and better by vomiting. I've avoided the common modalities such as better by motion, aggravated by motion, and aggravated by light. Now, in a Boenninghausen analysis, what really makes the picture very peculiar are the concomitants. So these are associated symptoms. Sometimes concomitants can be those symptoms which come at the same time as the chief complaint, but in other cases, it's mostly peculiar concomitants or peculiar associated symptoms along with the chief complaint. So in our case, I thought the bitterness was quite prominent because the vomiting was always bitter, and this mental state, which is irritation and impatience, which is quite important just because it makes the whole case quite individual. Now let's look at the Kentian analysis, which is on the right side here. Now in the Kentian analysis, you are not generalizing. You're using every symptom as it is in a particular patient. So you are actually combining two or more different components which you separate out in the Boenninghausen analysis. So in this case, the mental generals or the mental particulars are quite highly graded in a Kentian analysis, below which comes the physical generals and then the physical particulars. So in this case, for me, the irritation with the headache was my most important symptom. Then comes the impatience with the headache. And then I've chosen a combination of location and modalities, or location and sensation, to make up the totality. So for me, this causative modality, headache from alcohol, was quite important, and I graded higher. Then comes this prominent sensation of boring as of a nail. And then the location, which is interesting that because every time the headache is always starts on the left eye. And then I've used a few other modalities such as better by vomiting. I've used bitter vomiting, which is a good sort of a concomitant for me, and also aggravated waking up in the morning. So if you realized, I've actually used similar symptoms in both these analyses. It's only differently placed and differently structured because it's a different type of approach. Now, the repertories I've chosen, for the Boenninghausen analysis, I've chosen the Boger-Boenninghausen repertory, whereas for the Kentian analysis, I've chosen simple Kentian repertory. So let's compare them, the two comparisons. So let's look at first the Boenninghausen analysis. Now, these are my symptoms. I've actually made rubrics out of those. So internal headache in the forehead, above the left eye. I've used, now in the Boenninghausen, what I like about the repertory is that within the head section, you can have a particular sensation. At the same time, you can have the whole sensation generalized if you don't want to just focus it onto the head. So you can have two ways of looking at the same symptom. You can use head, internal, nail as if or plug sensation, and you can use a general sensation of nail or a plug. So you can actually have both these remedies coming together, and you don't miss out anything, or you don't overgeneralize, which can be a problem using just the therapeutic pocketbook for me. The other thing which was important was aggravation alcohol, which is again a general symptom. I haven't used it under the head location. Aggravation in the morning, better by vomiting. Vomiting is basically bitter and bilious, so which is again a general symptom. Mind irritable, cross, and mind impatience. So most of the symptoms I've taken are general, except this one particular symptom where I have introduced the sensation under the head location. Now, the remedies which come up are aconite, ignatia, sulfur, nux vomica, ignatia, sulfur, aconite, arsenic, coffea, lachesis, lycosepia, and so on. Let's look at the Kentian analysis. Now, I've used the Kentian repertory for that. Now, in the Kentian analysis, what you've realized is I've used the mind symptoms first, so irritation during headache. Then I've used headache, pain from alcohol, headache, pain, nail as off, headache in general on the eyes, headache better by vomiting, stomach bitter vomiting, headache in general aggravation in the morning, and mind irritation and impatience. So I've actually used all these different symptoms together in the Kentian analysis, and again my top remedy is nux vomica, followed by lachesis, sepia, bryonia, arsenic, calc, natramute, pulsatilla, and so on. If I compare the common remedies in both these analyses, you would see that most of them are similar. However, both of them have strongly got nux vomica as the first prominent remedy. So when I was looking into the nux vomica symptoms and I was trying to find out how that particular remedy has been placed in both these repertories, what I realized is there is a very peculiar difference. Now, in the Boenninghausen repertory, nux is graded 4 for bitter vomiting and 2 for vomiting ameliorates. However, in Kentian repertory, nux vomica is absent for both these different symptoms, which was weird. I'll take you back. Look at this. In the Boenninghausen repertory, this symptom, aggravation, vomiting after ameliorates, and in the symptom, vomiting bitter and bilious, it's quite prominent. 4 in bitter vomiting, and better by vomiting, it's 2. However, in the Kentian analysis, vomiting ameliorates, there's no nux vomica. Bitter vomiting, there's no nux vomica. And that was weird. So what's happened? Is that an error, or is that something which we have missed out? Let's look at that. I tried to look into the source books, and I found that nux vomica has no bitter vomiting in the provings. It has sour vomiting. And nux vomica has no proving symptom of headache better by vomiting. So what's happened is Kent has actually put the facts quite correctly, because that was the concept and the structure of the repertory. Whatever you have in the provings, that exactly has been put in the repertory. However, Boenninghausen has a very different concept. In Boenninghausen, he has actually generalized. So what happens is, when nux has bitter taste and bitter eructations and bitter discharges, he has generalized bitterness, and that has been included under vomiting. Similarly, Nux vomica has several symptoms where the person is making constant efforts to vomit, that's intense nausea, and vomiting ameliorates the person. So, in this case, better by vomiting is a general modality, and hence Nux has been placed under that. It is not under headache better by vomiting, but you can actually generalize and put that two component of better vomiting onto the location of head and make that as a single complete symptom. And this is the permutation and the combinations which is possible in a Boenninghausen repertory, which is all the basic difference of the philosophy of these two different repertories. However, Nux vomica has cured this symptom. Many people with headaches better by bitter vomiting have been cured by Nux vomica. So I think that is really the crux. It is about understanding where and what that particular philosophy appears in. And that for me is such a wonderful part of using Boenninghausen analysis, because provings can sometimes be incomplete. However, there are so many valuable clinical rubrics we have realized because of this case of putting components together from different parts and generalizing them. However, you have always got to really use it with a whole lot of understanding rather than just dumping symptoms together and analyzing them. It's all about trying to work out. It's not about one repertory better than the other, because you can always have opposite examples there, but it's just putting, if there is a single case, I would absolutely, and you've taken it at stage 3, I would actually compare it using both approaches. I'll use and repertorize that case using a Boenninghausen approach. I'll repertorize that case using a Kentian approach. And I think I'll compare the remedies, and that has given me better success than just using one approach or one philosophy or one repertory. It's all about, again, using the best of our tools, best of different approaches, and then making the final prescription. So this is the reason I think for every stage you need to know different approaches and use the best for your patients. And that was the whole reason I thought this would be a very good example to explain that fact. I would love to hear from you and just the way you use these two different approaches, which are like one of the most commonly used approaches at stage 3. Let me know how you use that in your practice, and it would be wonderful to know that. Thank you so much, and hope to meet you next time. Bye bye.